she just was so positive. Heaven's there.
This time on Unexplained Mysteries, Miracles on Earth. You'll hear about a boy with life-threatening injuries and little hope.
His entire pelvis was crushed under the tires.
But his family puts their trust in spiritual power.
Steve and I prayed on the way to the hospital, and the family prayed as a family.
A little girl has a near-death vision.
I looked behind me, and I saw a guardian angel telling me not to be afraid.
Worshippers gather at a place where they say miracles occur.
A vapor appeared over the top of it. When it did, it went into the shape of a lady.
And they believe a psychic heals with her touch.
I've seen a woman, 45 years, she was bent over with scoliosis. When she left here, she stood straight up.
Find out what happens when a desperate couple takes their child to her as a last resort.
She looked at us and she said he's being healed in 3 parts, and the first part is happening right now.
A little girl's incredible recovery from a terrible accident.
From a coma, we never see someone heal as fast as Ashley, appeared to. I mean, it just, something was on her side.
So I think he just pulled back the veil and let her see a little bit of heaven.
We'll tell you about the firefighter trapped in a fire with no way out until he sees a vision.
And it started to take the shape of a young lady. Well, maybe I've already died.
Paramedics can't revive a man who was struck by lightning. Then a mystery woman appears.
What happened here on this stretch of highway was a miracle.
And we'll bring it all together in the UNEX Report. This is Unexplained Mysteries. Miracles on Earth. Miracles. Throughout the world, they defy the laws of nature. Is it a miracle when someone survives massive injuries? Studies show that prayer may help the healing process, even when a person is severely injured, like 6-year-old Taylor Hall.
It was a bright sunny day. He took his skates out, and then my son Chris was in the front bedroom, and he heard the truck screech.
You could hear the truck coming down the corner. You could hear it as it would kind of screech, because Taylor was coming down the sidewalk, and as he hit the sidewalk, he hit a patch of rocks, and he couldn't stop himself in time.
Fire department came, and the ambulances came, and he was in a pool of blood. He lost over 4.5 units in the street, which is almost half your body's blood. And he was ripped open from his navel all the way to the back.
Taylor's prognosis was not good.
His entire pelvis was crushed under the tires. I had grave doubts about being able to put his intestinal tract back together. The damage was so extensive in the pelvic area. He had huge open wounds. Again, very susceptible to infection.
There was a very good possibility that the infection that might have gotten in there would be the thing that would end up killing him. The next thing we were told was that if he made it through that, that there would be a possibility that, one, he might not be able to have children, he might have to have a colostomy the rest of his life, his ability to walk might be impeded substantially.
He thought he was going to die. I think that scared the nurses a little bit, because they said when patients think that they're going to die, then it's pretty serious.
Taylor's family was encouraged by studies showing prayer may be a powerful tool for healing.
There were some studies coming out showing that if you take prayer into the clinic or the hospital or the laboratory and test it pretty much like you would a new medication, you can actually show that prayer does something.
Researchers put bacteria into 2 identical test tubes. Volunteers prayed for the samples in one of the test tubes.
And the differences in the growth rates are quite profound, favoring those that get prayed for.
At San Francisco General Hospital, a prayer experiment was conducted on actual patients.
The patients who received extra prayer from our groups outside of the hospital required less diuretic therapy, less antibiotics, and had less cardiac arrest.
With hope fading for conventional medicine to heal Taylor, the Halls sought an alternative.
Steve and I prayed on the way to the hospital, And the family prayed as a family.
It just seemed that we were all on the same level, doing the same thing for the same purpose. And we all wanted the same thing, and that was for Taylor to recover.
And I'm fully convinced that was every bit as important a part as what the doctors did. And not to downplay what the doctors did, but I think it was, they both worked together.
And when, after 6 days, after being ripped open, intestines all messed up, being, his back ripped open, his pelvis broken, he was walking with no cast or pins.
And I think it was a miracle. I think if somebody else had got run over and nobody prayed, then he could have died.
The experts are convinced of prayer's effect on Taylor's miraculous recovery.
Well, it's my opinion that prayer helped 100%. A lot of the stuff that we were able to do as doctors was relatively simple, but the healing process was a long, extensive one with major injuries.
The mind has some aspect, some quality, which can reach out through space and time, as is evidenced through prayer, and make a difference.
Julie is just happy to have her son back.
He's fully recovered. He doesn't have anything major wrong with him. He gets headaches now and then, but everything else on his body is normal. In fact, he's above normal. He's skating again.
Barstow, California. A 2-year-old girl is riding her tricycle around the family pool.
I ran through the hall, and I knew something was wrong, and I found her floating face down in the pool.
My mom pulled her out, and she screamed for help, and there was nothing my sister and I could do.
When Ricky first presented to the emergency department, I was almost sure that she would not survive.
She was lifeless. There was no life in the child whatsoever. It was such a difficult call because the parents of the child were very good friends of mine.
Ricky says that during her near-death experience, she saw something otherworldly.
I looked behind me and I saw a guardian angel, and she had flowing golden color hair and she was wearing a white dress. She grabbed my hand and we started to walk down the tunnel. When we got towards the end, she asked me if I wanted to go through the light with her or if I wanted to go back. And I told her that I had to go back and tell my mom where I was going. And so I remember her walking me back and telling me not to be afraid.
Miraculously, Ricky made a full recovery, but what she saw while unconscious stayed with her.
It was approximately a month after she had come home from the hospital, and I had taken her shopping with me. We went into a bookstore, and maybe 5 minutes into shopping, she grabbed my hand and squeezed and started screaming and yelling in the store, "Mama, Mama, that's my angel." And I didn't know what she was talking about. I looked around, and there was a poster on the wall, and it was of a guardian angel.
Visions of angels are as real as any other human experience.
Many doctors insist these visions are symptoms of the body shutting down near the time of death. But Morse disagrees.
Children experience a spiritual light the great majority of the time during near-death experiences.
It was a really fluorescent colored tunnel. It had really bright colored bricks around it, and it had a really almost blinding light at the end.
It's not just some sort of reflex spasm of the optic nerve or the, dysfunctional firing of neurons in their occipital lobe.
Experts of the near-death experience call it celestial vision. But are these miraculous experiences real? Do they have a purpose?
When this first happened, we never went to church much. She had no knowledge of angels. Since this, she likes to spread the word that the angels are out there and it's okay.
I think that it happened so I could tell other people not to be afraid of dying.
Later on Unexplained Mysteries, the alleged miracles at a remote town in Venezuela.
My judgment is that those apparitions are authentic and supernatural.
Many of them performed by a woman whose followers claim she has psychic healing powers.
She is able to see things and know things before they ever occur.
The gruesome tragedy that threatened to rip a family apart.
Pain, the sorrow, the hurt comes from the depth in you that you have no idea that's there.
And the remarkable little girl whose survival helped them heal.
Yeah, but good thing I got to stay here. I wouldn't see my grandma or grandpa.
To have a small child take your blinders off is very humbling. She just was so positive.
You'll hear the story of the firefighter who was ready to die but survived. He says with the help of a vision.
And I said, if you're here to take me, then I'm ready to go. I said, but if you're here to help me, I said, show me the way out, please, now.
And a man hit by lightning recovers when a mysterious woman in black appears out of nowhere.
Even with the rain falling, everybody was soaked. She wasn't. She was not remotely wet.
And we'll sum it all up with the UNEX Report. Here on Unexplained Mysteries, Miracles on Earth. Unexplained Mysteries. Reports of miracles come from all over the globe. In Venezuela, there is a place called Betania, where thousands flock to experience miracles. People describe Betania as magical.
Sometimes you will see balls form, colored balls, and they might be blue ones, they might be rose-colored.
This blue butterfly felt this big whoosh between our heads.
Came right between
both of our
heads
cheeks.
and brushed our cheeks
right
and
up
went
to the
in
ceiling of the
And the
chapel.
people went nuts.
And as I watched them, like a vapor appeared over the top of it. And when it did, it lit into the shape of a lady.
Eyewitnesses say they've seen incidents of extraordinary healing.
I seen a woman was on the same pilgrimage as me for 45 years. She was bent over with scoliosis. When she left here, she stood straight up.
This wall contains the records of the healings at Betania. After over 500 interviews, the Catholic Church endorsed Betania as an apparition site.
My judgment is that those apparitions are authentic and supernatural.
This is Maria Esperanza. She was the first to find the healing power of the Betania waterfall. And now some call her the greatest mystic in the world. Her followers are convinced her hands have the power to heal.
I was blessed to get in front of her, and when we locked eyes, I went down on the ground. I got up, I took my cane at the tour guide, jumped off a porch, ran up this hill to the chapel, grabbed my luggage, ran up another hill to the bus.
Esperanza says she can see into the future.
When you meet her, she knows everything about you, the present, the past, and the future. She is able to see things and know things before they ever occur.
People desperate to ease their suffering seek out Esperanza and the healing waters of Betania. Ryan Hulick was born with a debilitating spinal condition.
The only thing I knew about spina bifida was that it was devastating.
Never seen anything like it before, and I really didn't understand what I was looking at.
This diagnosis of spina bifida is something that involves the brain, it involves the spinal cord, and because it involves your nervous system, it involves anything from the head down.
Doctors felt that Ryan's condition would not improve.
I sort of felt like I had a baby with a time bomb. So I didn't sleep well. I was always listening for him to see is this going to be the night?
So Patricia and Casey met with Maria Esperanza on one of her frequent visits to America.
She finished speaking with the family, and she just turned around and walked right up to us. And she says through the interpreter, "Here, this is the place." And she's touching her lower. We had never given her any details about this child or the condition.
But somehow Esperanza knew all about Ryan's disability.
She looked at us and she said he's being healed in 3 parts, and the first part is happening right now.
On a subsequent visit, Esperanza met Ryan.
She turned right around and she took Ryan out of my arms and sat right down. And on the video you can see her hand going right down over where the shunt and down along the shunt line at his little chest, and then on the spine and the back and the whole thing.
According to the Hulicks, Ryan's condition immediately improved. Doctors treating him could not believe this was the same child.
The neurologist came in And he was doing his exam and writing down his comments and so forth. And he got up and got his colleague because he wanted to check and make sure it was the right kid and the right records and the right everything because it was so dramatic.
Soon afterwards, the Hulicks took Ryan to Betania for phase 3 of his treatment.
Suddenly, Ryan woke up and he was screaming, like a very, very strong cry, as if he were in pain. And she said, he's crying because that which was apart has just come together. She said, this is the third part. He's going to begin to become completely healed.
On that bus ride back from Caracas after he received the third part, we noticed an immediate dramatic change in Ryan. He was so strong and just trying to get up and to move and just so bouncy.
When they got back to the U.S., Ryan could walk. The neurosurgeon who first diagnosed Ryan was stunned.
I think he's excelled in some ways beyond what his objective analyses, such as pictures, x-rays, CAT scans, MRIs, might have led us to think he could do.
Ryan's surprising recovery has convinced Dr. Rifkinson of the spiritual aspects of healing.
The art of medicine 100 years ago was holistic, and that was we didn't have the technology and the capability to correct anatomical abnormalities that we do now. We forgot about faith, and we forgot about hope and positive thinking.
Coming up on Unexplained Mysteries, miracles, and the people who have experienced them. A girl says she got a glimpse of heaven while in a coma.
In heaven, it's bright like that, and it's so bright that the sun was shining on it, and there's never any dark. I saw my mom, and I saw the man.
Raised her little eyes up as far as she could, and she said, they went that way. They went up.
A mystifying vision in a burning building saves a firefighter's life.
And I knew then that this was totally a true incident that happened to me. It's time to thank somebody.
We'll tell you about the lightning bolt that left a man dead.
When I got there and saw this man, where the lightning struck, it was actually smoldering.
Until an unidentified woman brought him back to life.
That's when I said, let her do what she has to do. Without even thinking about it, the words just came out of my mouth.
And we'll give you the ultimate review with the UNEX Report. Stay tuned for more Unexplained Mysteries. Unexplained Mysteries. Miracles on Earth. Sometimes out of a terrible tragedy can come an amazing miracle. For Joan Frigg, it began when her daughter came to her with a premonition.
Cheryl was in my living room telling me that she didn't know what it was, but she knew that her and Daniel were going to die.
One April afternoon, Cheryl's deadly prediction came true. She was driving with her 2 kids, 11-month-old Daniel and 5-year-old Ashley. Without warning, a drunk driver crashed into them head-on. 7 people died as a result of the crash, including Cheryl and Daniel. Cheryl's parents found out later that day.
Well, we made a few phone calls and the lines were busy. We got nothing but busy signal. And about that time, we noticed that headlights were coming down our driveway. And it was our deacon that came and broke the news to us.
It was 20 minutes before Ashley could be pulled from the wreckage. She had survived. Her left leg was crushed. Part of her lungs collapsed, and injuries to her brain were extensive. Ashley slipped into a coma.
The pain, the sorrow, the hurt comes from a depth in you that you have no idea that's there. It totally rips you apart.
2 weeks later, on Easter Sunday, Ashley miraculously woke up from her coma.
Dr. Hellickson from University Hospital called. Ashley's out of the coma. So we went in the room and Ashley says, "Hi, Grandma, hi, cramps."
Her recovery was miraculous because she could not only speak, recognized people, but she could also drink and eat, and she really was a miracle.
And the Fricks quickly discovered that Ashley coming out of her coma wasn't the only blessing.
While we were talking to her, Ashley was faced towards us, and then she looked away from us and looked up the ceiling, And her voice was very weak and shallow, and I couldn't hear everything she was saying. But she said, Daniel, Daniel, Mom. And she carried on a conversation with him and smiled and would nod her head.
But when she raised her hand and went like this, and she spoke up loud enough to hear, and she was saying, goodbye, Mom, I love you.
Bye, Daniel, I love you. And then turned back to us, pointed up to the ceiling. She says, can you see the hole? Can you see them? Can you see them? And she kept repeating it, can you see them? Can you see the hole?
Was Ashley really able to see her mother and brother? For her, the images were vivid.
In heaven, it's bright like that, and it's so bright that the sun was shining on it, and there's never any dark. I saw my mom, and I saw the man. The man told me I had to go back, and my mom said she loved me, and then that's all I remember.
She said to me that Mom had been there with her when she was in the coma, encouraging her to come out of it. She was lying in bed, and she'd raise her little eyes up as far as she could, and she said, they went that way. They went up, and I was going with them, and I stopped and said, you can't go. You have to stay. It's not your time. And so she said, I'm here, and they're in heaven. She just seemed so at peace with it, like Mom had gone off to work. And she knew where she was, no big deal.
Those close to Ashley believe every word of her story. Was the hand of God reaching out to this family?
So I think he just pulled back the veil and let her see a little bit of heaven to help her.
3.5 months later, Ashley was released from the hospital. She started her physical therapy, and her miraculous recovery began.
From a coma, we never see someone heal as fast as Ashley, appeared to. I mean, it just, something was on her side. Someone was there to say, hey, this girl's got to be here, and we're going to make it the best we can.
Did Ashley Dial experience a miracle? Did she get a glimpse of heaven? Whatever occurred seemed to touch all of the people around her.
Yeah, but good thing I got to stay here. Or I wouldn't see my grandma or grandpa.
Many times when I cry, Ashley will pat me on my back and say, Grandma, it's okay. Mom's in heaven and she's happy.
Ashley's a miracle child. She blessed me tremendously by being able to work with her. To have a small child take your blinders off is very humbling. She just was so positive. Heaven's there.
Next on Unexplained Mysteries, more miracles on Earth. A firefighter can't get out of a raging inferno. Then a vision shows the way.
When I got to the point where she had pointed, I felt nothing but wall. But when I pushed, a door opened and I fell out into the parking lot.
Paramedics are helpless to save a motorcyclist struck by lightning, but a woman in black saves his life.
No one knows where this lady came from or where she went to. It is truly a miracle.
And we'll summarize it all on the Unex Report. There's more unexplained mysteries, miracles on Earth. Unexplained mysteries, miracles on Earth. Miracles are often reported by people who willingly put their lives in danger. A firefighter trapped near death. He believes a miracle saved his life.
There's no person on this earth, I think, that could ever tell me that it was all, in your mind. You didn't see anything. You didn't experience anything. I know what I saw. I was at a point where this was probably going to, be my last fire. I was probably going to die.
Hialeah, Florida. Ken Carter was relaxing with his fellow firefighters when the call came in that would change his life.
Going off from the scene at 1824 West 4 Avenue, Pandora's box. You spot smoke coming from the windows and doors.
10-4, have units en route.
We were having a lot of fires that particular month. The fire that we had in the evening hours of January 12th was at a building called Pandora's Box. There's always fear involved, not knowing every building is different, every fire is different.
When Carter and his partner arrived, they encountered thick smoke and flames. Bravely, they rushed into the burning building.
We were confronted with heavy smoke. We were very, very hot inside already, and open flames.
Carter's partner couldn't tolerate the heat and had to leave.
I kept on fighting the fire and trying to knock down as much fire as I possibly could. And the opportunity was there to do as much as I could until he got back or the backup crew came in. But that didn't happen.
When a firefighter's air tank runs low, a bell rings to warn him he has just a few minutes of air left. Carter heard his warning signal go off.
I heard a warning signal go off. The warning signal was hooked to our air tank. Then you only have approximately 4 minutes of air left in your tank. At that point, I said, well, it is time to leave the building. I turned around, I picked up the hose like you're supposed to do, and I attempted to follow it out of the building.
But the hose was tangled and twisted.
And when I started to draw down on my air tank, my mask started to collapse on my face, and I knew at that point that I was out of air. So I removed my mask and was confused, started to become disoriented. I realized that I was going to have to do something very, very drastic or very, very lucky to get out of this building.
But he couldn't see any lights or any way out.
And this is when I decided, well, maybe this is it for me. Maybe this is my final fire. Maybe this is when I meet my last alarm. I was starting to cough and gag. What I decided to do at that point was just settle up my life, I guess. And I knelt down and I asked for some type of divine intervention.
And that's when Carter says he saw something that couldn't possibly be there, but was.
Across the room, I just saw something out of the corner of my eye. It was like a blue light, a light blue light. It grew larger and it started to take the shape of a young lady and bathed in still the blue light. Her clothes was like a long billowing type veils and a very peaceful, very serene look on her face. Of course, I was startled and thinking, well, maybe I've already died, and this is the after-death experience that people have explained to me over the years that they've gone through, and it's time for me to offer myself up.
Carter prepared himself to die.
And at that point, I looked her right in the face and I said, if you're here to take me, then I'm ready to go. I said, but if you're here to help me, I said, show me the way out, please, now. And at that point, I mean, she never changed her expression or anything on her face, but she did lift her arm. I got up off my knees and went the way she had pointed. I had no idea where I was headed. When I got to the point where she had pointed, I felt nothing but wall. But when I pushed on this section where I was standing, a door opened and I fell out into the parking lot.
After the fire was out, Carter returned to the scene of the apparition. He found a post in the middle of the room.
And I walked over to the post and I said, well, this is what I had to see, with blue lights on it. And, still trying to, I think, deny a little bit, this whole incident.
Then, for some reason, Carter took off his glove.
I don't know why, because everything inside of this building was still extremely hot. But when I touched the post was cold. And as I touched the post, like a blue tinge started to encircle my hand. And I knew then that this was just totally a true incident that happened to me. And this is when I, really decided it's time to thank somebody.
Angel researcher Alma Daniel feels that Carter's story is extremely similar to those told by others who have encountered angels.
An angel cannot interfere with your free will or your destiny, but if it is not your time to go, the angel will definitely guide you through whatever situation, whatever traumatic moment that you are in, whatever danger you may be in, will make sure that you get out.
Carter's fellow firemen wondered how he survived. Many firefighters insist angels have helped them.
You know, you go out on every call, and after it's over, you kind of stand back and you look and say, well, you know, how did we come through this in one piece? And in the back of your mind, you know, the whole time you got somebody looking after you. There's no doubt about it.
I think we definitely have got someone looking after us.
We have guardian angels out there looking after us.
If you have not fulfilled your purpose on this planet, if you still have a contribution to make, the angel will be there and make sure that you get through.
His life saved by a miracle in the fire, Carter now saves lives as a paramedic.
It's a terrific job. You can help so many people through so many situations. Saving a life there's nothing in this world that compares to nothing.
And Carter's angel has left an indelible imprint on his life.
And I still see her vision every now and then. I still picture her even today. I get chilled.
Next on Unexplained Mysteries, a man's lifeless body lies by the side of a road. Stunned paramedics watch as a mysterious woman brings him back to life.
Lady in black came in. She had a Bible in her hands. And I was in awe at this woman.
And we'll give you our all-inclusive review in the UNEX Report. Stick around for more Unexplained Mysteries. Unexplained Mysteries, Miracles on Earth. Mansfield, Ohio. Bob Davidson was a volunteer fireman going through rough times. His father had just passed away, and he was concerned about his rocky relationship with his daughter.
We didn't get along. A teenage daughter and a father, you know, we had our differences.
So Davidson decided to take a break. Wearing his father's watch to honor him as usual, he hopped on his motorcycle and hit the road, heading to Indianapolis to visit family. But it was raining hard.
When you're doing 60 miles an hour, a raindrop feels pretty stingy on your arms when it hits.
Despite their disagreements, his daughter was worried about him.
Being 7 months pregnant, for months I had dreams that something happened to Dad. I had a feeling that Dad wasn't going to be there to see my baby born.
Near Acton, Indiana, Davidson pulled over to get into his rain gear, unaware of the shocking twist of fate that awaited him.
Maybe it was that weird stuff, you got to be at the right place at the right time, and I was supposed to get struck by lightning.
Electricity shot through his body.
I mean, when we got there, the man was gray. No sign of life whatsoever.
Rescue workers arrived and knew immediately that Davidson was in bad shape. They called for a helicopter, but it couldn't fly in the storm.
When I got there and saw this man, where the lightning struck, it was actually smoldering. It looked like steam coming out of the wound.
The bolt had welded his father's watch and ripped the boots off his feet.
I think in the back of all firefighters' minds, you're saying a prayer.
As they tried in vain to resuscitate Davidson, weird things started to happen.
The ambulance was a practically new vehicle, had power failure. Now, I don't mean just the lights went out on the ambulance. I mean, the ambulance went completely dead.
Out of the clear blue sky, a lady in black came in. She had a Bible in her hands. And I was in awe at this woman.
Dressed in old-fashioned clothes, the woman wanted to touch Davidson and the ground simultaneously.
That's when I said, you know, let her do what she has to do. Without even thinking about it, the words just came out of my mouth.
The woman in black began to hit Davidson on the chest with the Bible. According to the paramedics, she started speaking in tongues.
Even with the rain falling, everybody was soaked. She wasn't. She was not remotely wet.
Suddenly, Davidson showed signs of life.
She looked me right dead in the eyes and smiled. Not a word said, stood up and walked away.
As quickly as she arrived, the woman in black disappeared. The paramedics kept working on Davidson.
It was almost like the sky was parting back. Everything was clearing up.
It's weird. His blood pressure started coming back up. They got a pulse on him. Color started coming back into him. And no one knows where this lady came from or where she went to. It is truly a miracle.
But Davidson was still in critical condition. His daughter wasn't sure he'd live to see the birth of his grandchild.
They didn't think he was going to make it through the first night, and then every day after that he made it, it was, wow, this guy's still hanging on.
While comatose, Davidson had unusual dreams and visions about his father.
I can still see him sitting under this tree, and it's the most beautiful place that you've ever seen. I have never seen any place like it on this earth.
And that makes you stop and think, well, was he there with him when Dad was in the coma and wasn't really there himself?
I know if that's the place you go when you die, I want to go there.
After 7 weeks in the coma, he regained consciousness, just in time to witness the birth of his first grandchild.
I named the baby after Dad. He's named after his grandpa.
Clues to the identity of the woman in black may come from Acton's past.
Acton, having been a spiritual center for many years, perhaps some of that has held over.
In the 1800s, Acton was the home of a religious campground.
It was a generation that believed in, maybe more than we do now, in the spiritual powers.
But one day, a fire started on the religious site.
The fire went so quickly that they didn't have any real opportunity to stop it, although they tried.
Some feel that the woman in black was a spirit from the burned campground who saved Davidson's life because he was a firefighter. In the Acton Museum are an old-fashioned black dress and a Bible, exactly like the paramedics saw the night Bob Davidson was brought back to life.
I would just like to walk along with her and tell her how much I appreciate what she did in giving me a second chance on life. I don't know what happened here on this stretch of highway, but it definitely was a miracle.
Coming up on Unexplained Mysteries, our full account of miracles on Earth in the UNEX Report. Stories from people who die and the miracles that bring them back. What happens to these people in between life and death? Are guardian angels guiding them back to Earth? Are angels actually the spirits of the dead? We'll sum it all up next in the UNEX Report. The UNEX Report. People make remarkable recoveries from devastating traumas. Do miracles exist on Earth? A child hit by a truck suffers massive injuries.
He lost over 4.5 units in the street, which is almost half your body's blood.
Yet he lived. His father says it was due to the power of prayer.
And I'm fully convinced that was every bit as important a part as what the doctors did.
Some researchers are convinced of the positive effect of prayer.
If you take prayer into the clinic or the hospital or the laboratory and test it, you can actually show that prayer does something.
The similarities and stories of children's near-death experiences are convincing experts that miracles exist.
Children experience a spiritual light. It's a light that one child said to me has a lot of good things in it.
I saw a guardian angel, and she had flowing golden color hair, and she was wearing a white dress.
And started screaming, "Mama, Mama, that's my angel." And there was a poster on the wall, and it was of a guardian angel.
In heaven, it's bright like that. And I saw my mom, and I saw the man. The man told me I had to go back, and my mom said she loved me, and then that's all I remember.
And some feel it gives them a renewed purpose in life.
I think that it happened so I could tell other people not to be afraid of dying.
There are said to be places with miraculous healing powers, like Betania, Venezuela.
I've seen a woman, 45 years, she was bent over with scoliosis. When she left here, she stood straight up.
Where a psychic healer is said to cure those with grave afflictions.
When you meet her, she knows everything about you, the present, the past, and the future.
A family is certain she cured their son's spinal deformity.
She said he's going to begin to become completely healed.
We noticed an immediate dramatic change in Ryan. He was so strong.
Some claim that angels come to them in their most dire moments.
It was like a blue light, and it started to take the shape of a young lady. But she did lift her arm, and she pointed. Pushed on this section, a door opened, and I fell out into the parking lot.
And no one knows where this lady came from or where she went to. It is truly a miracle.
Could all these eyewitnesses be wrong? Or did they experience actual miracles? These are questions without answers. That is why, for now, they must remain an unexplained mystery.